All right, before we jump in, just the usual quick reminder. This is all for educational purposes, and it is definitely not financial advice.
Okay, let's get right to it. Welcome to the Day 140 Health Report for the PLAZM protocol. And wow, do we have some huge milestones to cover today. The Treasury's bond count has blown past 9,000, and real yield has just crossed $85,000.
But first things first, let's address the elephant in the room. After that incredible rally we saw back on day 137, the price has pulled back a bit. So, the big question on everyone's mind is, should we be worried? Well, the short answer is absolutely not. And this slide really tells the whole story, doesn't it? On one hand, you have the price, which is just going through a totally normal, totally healthy consolidation after a massive run-up. But on the other hand, you have the protocol's fundamentals, and they aren't just strong, they're accelerating at a record-breaking pace. The real story here isn't the price taking a breather, it's the engine underneath just revving higher and higher.
So, let's dive into our first segment and really unpack this dynamic. A price pullback happening at the exact same time as this incredible fundamental surge. This is where we see the protocol's true strength shining through.
What's so amazing about this slide is the sheer momentum it shows. And remember, this is just in the 3 days since that big rally. Look at this. Over 300 new bonds got us past that 9,000 mark. We've added more than $4,000 in fresh yield. We've burned another 70,000 tokens. And all of this is happening while the liquid supply just keeps getting tighter. The machine is working harder than ever before.
And that incredible growth in bonds, well, that leads us right into our first major headline today. The Treasury has officially crossed the 9,000 bond milestone, and it's doing it at the fastest pace in the protocol's entire history. 9,050. Let that sink in for a second. That is a massive number of permanent, yield-spinning assets that are now owned by the protocol forever. This isn't just a number. It's a fundamental upgrade to the power of the protocol's profit engine.
And if you want to see just how fast this is happening, check out this timeline. It took 42 days to go from just under 6,000 bonds to over 8,000. It's taken just 14 days to add the next 1,000. That's a huge upgrade to our yield infrastructure in less than 2 months. The pace is, without a doubt, dramatically accelerating. And you know what more bonds means, right? It means more yield. Which, of course, brings us to our second huge headline. The protocol's profit engine isn't just growing, it's hitting its milestones faster and faster.
$85,080 in total claimed profits. In just the last 3 days, the protocol has cranked out over $4,000 in real claimable yield. This is the direct payoff from that incredible bond foundation we were just talking about.
This chart right here tells the whole story. The time it takes to generate each new $5,000 block of yield is shrinking. We went from 5 days down to 4 days, and now just 3 days for the latest $5,000. So the takeaway is simple. The engine is getting faster. At this rate, that $100,000 milestone is going to be here before we know it. Okay, next up, let's zoom out and look at the overall supply structure, because you could argue it's at the strongest point it has ever been. We are seeing a record high protected supply and a record low liquid supply, all at the same time. And this chart just makes it crystal clear. A whopping 77% of the entire PLSM supply is now protected. That means it's staked, it's locked in liquidity, or it's been permanently burned. That leaves only 23% in liquid circulation that's even available on the open market. I mean, that is a huge structural shift. And the forces behind this are just relentless. We've now burned over 1.5 million PLAZM. That's a full 20% of the total supply just gone forever. At the same time, the amount of staked PLAZM is marching steadily toward that massive psychological milestone of 3 million. All right, now for what might just be the most powerful piece of data in this entire report. Let's look ahead at the token release schedule. Because what's coming up is, well, it's genuinely unprecedented. So today's release is already considered ultralight, but just look at what's on the horizon. Day 144, just over 2,000 tokens. Day 145, it drops below 1,000 to just 818. And then, on day 146, we hit an all-time record low. 718. That is not a typo. For an entire 24-hour period, only 718 PLAZM will be released into the ecosystem. At current prices, we're talking about maybe $33 worth of tokens for the entire day. It's basically nothing.
Now, let's put that tiny number into context. You've got the protocol's defense systems, the buy and burn and the buy and build, deploying thousands of dollars in buying power every day. So on day 146, this means the system will have enough firepower to cover the estimated sell pressure by about 15,000%. It's so much coverage, it's almost hard to wrap your head around. For all practical purposes, these are 0 release days.
So let's bring it all together for the final verdict on day 140. What's the big takeaway from all this data? Here it is, plain and simple. The price is in a healthy consolidation phase, but underneath the surface, every single fundamental metric is either hitting a new high or accelerating. Bonds over $9,000, yield over $85,000 break-even, a record 77% of the supply is protected, and we have that almost unbelievable record low release of just 718 tokens coming up. 9,050 bonds, $85,000 in real yield, 1.51 million burned, 77% protected. And day 146, 718 tokens. Not 718,000, 718. The price is consolidating, the protocol is accelerating. That's day 140. And that wraps up our explainer for day 140. As always, please remember this is for educational purposes only. Never ever invest more than you're willing to lose, and make sure you do your own research before making any financial decisions. Thanks for tuning in.